Sky F1 has been on the receiving end of things, and for all the right reasons. The recent comments they made about Verstappen and the alleged robbery of the 2021 championship are something that has been labelled as derogatory and defamatory by Christian Horner. This is something that cannot pass easily in the F1 world, and that is why the F1 fans have called for stronger measures against Ted Kravitz and Sky F1 in general. But why are these comments made in the first place? And what do other reporters have to say about Kravitz's latest comments towards Verstappen? Before we dive deep into the Sky F1 Verstappen drama, make sure to subscribe to our channel, like our video, and turn on the notifications. Sky F1, or more precisely Ted Kravitz, has made comments towards Verstappen that cannot be accepted like that easily from the F1 fans or the F1 community in general. While walking through the pit lane, Kravitz was talking about Lewis Hamilton and called him an 8-time world champion. Although Kravitz corrected himself immediately and said that Hamilton is a 7-time world champion, he continued to speak about the 2021 finale and how Hamilton was robbed. While talking about the race, Brundle said that Hamilton was robbed of his 8th championship, and the guy he was robbed by was Max Verstappen. After this, Verstappen refused to talk to Kravitz and walked right past him in the pit lane. Rest assured that this decision didn't sit well with Kravitz and Sky F1. And what can they expect when all you are doing is poking at old wounds? Red Bull decided to not give interviews to Sky F1 throughout the Mexico GP. And according to Verstappen, it has nothing to do with this weekend. It's the constant digging that they did towards him and his legacy, which is something that won't rest well with the Austrian team, given the fact that Verstappen is now a 2-time world champion. It had nothing to do with this weekend. But this year, it's been a constant, kind of like being disrespectful every day, especially by one particular person. And it's enough. I don't accept it. You can't live in the past. You just have to move on. Social media is a very toxic place, and if you're constantly being like that live on TV, you make it worse instead of trying to make it better. You keep disrespecting me, and at one point, I'm not tolerating it anymore. That's why I decided to stop answering them. Ted Kravitz also spoke on this matter, but not directly to the media, but rather to another reporter from Ziggo Sport. Pluey, who is a reporter from Ziggo Sports, said that he completely backs up Kravitz, saying that his opinion on the championship finale last year would make a nice script for a film. When talking about his colleague from Sky F1, Pluey said, "If you listen carefully to that interview, he's walking through the paddock, and he says it would be a very nice script for a film." So cuts were made to that, so everyone only gets to hear that last bit where he tells us that he was robbed, not Max, but the title. So Hamilton has been robbed. He doesn't even mention the whole name, Max Verstappen. Kravitz, sent a WhatsApp message to me saying, "At no point have I ever said what Christian Horner, Joss, Raymond, or anybody else thinks I did and are apparently upset about. It is hugely amplified again by those in England. The English press has been bashing Red Bull and Max for a year now. I don't like that. It's a bit of a game, you know? The English are bashing Max and Red Bull, and he is now being put forward as a scapegoat. He isn't. I stick up for Ted. It doesn't really make sense, given the fact that Brundle called Hamilton an 8-time world champion. After all, you are a professional and a commentator working for one of the most renowned streaming services in Formula 1. You have colleagues like Button and Rosberg, who are proven F1 champions, and you're going to take cheap shots at a 2-time world champion who broke so many records this year and is on the path to becoming one of the greatest drivers in the world? That doesn't suit your reputation, and you should deal with the proper repercussions." Nevertheless, Pluey isn't the only reporter who gave his support to Kravitz. He has another colleague who stands behind his back in this whole situation, and that is Martin Brundle. Brundle has been closely involved in verbal arguments with Horner throughout the 2022 season, and rest assured that Red Bull is like poison to Sky F1. Martin Brundle shared a tweet saying, "For the avoidance of doubt, my friend and colleague Ted Kravitz has had my full support for the past 26 years. Face-to-face dialogue is the only way to sort out issues and settle disputes in the relentless cubicle of the F1 paddock. We all have opinions and different jobs to do. That's life. Imagine bashing someone and accusing him of stealing the championship away from another driver who, by the way, drives for a team that you are oriented towards as a media service, and then calling it freedom of speech. This is something that Christian Horner doesn't accept as well, and what Kravitz did is far from freedom of speech." When talking about this matter, Horner said, Well, an accusation of championships being robbed is something that we don't feel is an impartial commentary. That is, we don't feel fair or balanced in any way. Max was very upset about it, and as a team, we support him fully. We were equally upset about it. As a team, we took the decision this weekend, and I took the decision that we'll have a weekend off. Red Bull are a cheap target sometimes. Red Bull's boycott was only at the Mexico GP, and they will continue with the continuous press conferences during the Interlagos GP. According to Horner, the team wanted to prove something to the world by issuing a statement and letting the world know that they won't accept any kind of digging towards Verstappen. After all, the Dutchman had an amazing season, and he's been able to clinch the race with 4 races to go. Which brings us to the next point, and that is Kravitz's statement about Verstappen winning championships under strange conditions. What was so strange about the 2022 championship? Rules are rules, and although many were confused as to why the points were given in full and not in half, that doesn't mean they are right. The FIA's rulebook says it perfectly well. Full points are given if the race finishes regularly, not under red flag. And about the 2021 season, we can clearly hear Hamilton swearing in the radio when he learned that Verstappen, who was behind him, pitted during the safety car and he was left out on the track. The fact that Mercedes hoped the race would end under safety cars is one thing, and that cannot interfere with the final outcome. Regardless, Horner feels like the statement they made with the boycott will prove to the world that Verstappen and Red Bull aren't to be messed with, and comments like this won't be accepted so easily from their side. We were obviously disappointed with a series of derogatory comments that have been made on Sky. So we felt that this weekend we'd just take a break, and that it wouldn't do Sky any harm for us to take a break this weekend. There needs to be a balance in the commentary. Some of the commentary is excellent, but in some of the pieces, there's too much sensationalization. We stand together as a team. Next race, service will be resumed. We just wanted to lay down a marker and say certain things aren't acceptable, and as a team, we stand together, and we stand united as a team. Although Kravitz has huge support from his colleagues, it goes without saying that his knowledge regarding the F1 world is very minimal. During an interview with Norris after the race, Kravitz asked him how the Brit feels about the awful start. Norris said there wasn't anything awful about how the race started for him, and it was just bad luck that he lost 2 places. Still, Kravitz insisted that this is an awful scenario for the Briton, to which Norris replied, "You should try driving, mate." That is why the public's opinion of Kravitz is currently very low, and although he received full support from his colleague Brundle, many would want to see him gone for good. Will this be a proper repercussion for his comments? Probably, given the fact that Kravitz doesn't really bring anything good to the commentators and the streaming service as well. I mean, you have experts like Rosberg, Button, and Pedro de la Rosa, with the former 2 being world champions, and you're putting Kravitz on the pit to rant about the 2021 finale? That shows that there needs to be a reconstruction of the streaming service. The sooner, the better. What do you think about Ted Kravitz's comments made towards Red Bull and Verstappen? Let us know in the comments below.